Greetings, everybody. First week of June 2025. This has been one of the most eventful weeks of the past 6 months. It'll be soon that we've been living under this demented regime, and thank God it's so demented. And this is this is still one of the most eventful weeks. We have two major events this week to go over, and the first one, which a lot of y'all have already forgotten, I've heard somebody say that it feels like it's years ago. Not necessarily. It was pretty recent, but it's definitely not something that's in the news cycle right now, and I think that's for a reason. So Elon, after having left the whole Doge thing, which still exists, and we have to take some time and try to focus on getting rid of that. That's going to be hard. There's a good chance it'll last all the way until we have a general strike, which is coming. It is necessary, and they have done several of the things that would promote a general strike more than anything else. I'll talk about that later when I get to the ice acceleration that took place and the deployment of the National Guard illegally. But Elon has left and has focused his ire on Trump and the big budget bomb. Elon has said that it is, quote, I know you've heard this a million times, a disgusting abomination, and talked about the debt. He doesn't give a crap about the debt, first of all. He doesn't actually give a crap, but that doesn't matter. But just for the record, if anybody is focused on taking his money or anything like that, don't. It will poison you. People will. That is actually a tactic that took place in Adam Curtis's documentary. It was the first one. Hypernormalization. Towards the end of it, it talks about a strategy that took place in Russia of controlled opposition, of giving money to pro-democracy groups and stuff like that in order to break everybody's trust. All they had to do was sponsor them, and it broke everybody's trust. The Singaporean PAP does it as well. PAP is complicated. It's largely... It hasn't oppressed its people all that much, but it definitely refuses to give up power. And they do the same thing. They shower their opposition in favors and stuff like that. Do not take money from Elon Musk. If you are a Democrat, if you're an independent, if you're anybody that actually wants to create positive change, that actually wants to use your office that you're running for or that you have for good, do not accept his money. It's a Trojan horse. But in any case, yeah, he is the main reason why he hates the big budget bomb, supposedly. I refuse to call it what Trump calls it. What a childish name anyway. But the main reason why Elon has actually dislikes the BBB is that it takes away his EV subsidies. And that was one of the main things that he wanted to preserve. One of the main reasons, frankly, why he aligned himself with Donald Trump was to try to preserve that. Back in the campaign was to try to preserve the EV subsidies, which would have been cut. Well, those are gone. And so suddenly he cares about the deficit. Oh, he doesn't care about the deficit. He was fully prepared to rack up more billions of dollars on the deficit and take them for himself in tax breaks as well as contracts and things like that. A lot of those are going to get canceled as well. But this is a big deal. First of all, Trump won't let Elon back into his self-proclaimed White House, his self-proclaimed administration. He will not allow Elon back in. This is a permanent fissure. BBB is the big budget bomb is much more likely to fail with its number one supporter and its beneficiary dumping it, not supporting it, claiming that he cares about the deficit, and he's right about that. That's not his motivation, but all of his criticisms of the bill are correct. Weakness. So this makes them a lot weaker. When you think about what's going on, it totally makes sense what's been happening with ICE. But this makes them a lot weaker. Elon has called for Trump to be impeached and replaced with J.D. Vance, which, heaven forbid, that happens for more than a couple of weeks. J.D. Vance should be shorter than Liz Truss, should be shorter than William Henry Harrison. He should be a footnote in history between the impeachment of Trump and his own impeachment. Because, frankly, even just the comments that he has made about before he even got into office, let alone all of the corruption that he's been engaging in over the past several months, the threats to our allies, who are, by Congress, are our allies. A 60-vote resolution would have to be passed in the Senate in order to remove us from NATO. So these are our allies, and he is engaging in threats against them. But just what he has said about the 2020 election and what he would have done in Mike Pence's place is, frankly, and again, it doesn't matter that it's protected speech, blah, blah, blah. Like, he can't be disqualified for it, but you can impeach somebody for anything. You could impeach somebody in the Federalist Papers for the wanton removal of meritorious officers. Literally, that's what it said. And doesn't that sound familiar? I'm sure J.D. Vance has participated in a lot of that. Certainly Trump has. That's impeachable. Anything's impeachable. Certainly statements that you have made before or during office, and the negligence, that the refusal to walk back those statements about what he would have done in 2020, that is impeachable. And so that's just at baseline. He is impeachable as well. But Elon obviously would want him because Elon doesn't like democracy. And so I would not want him to get his way on this. But it certainly makes Trump weaker, more paranoid. One of the nice things is if the Republican Party chooses to go over, to take Trump's side rather than Elon's side in this breakup, it would make it much less likely that something like that would happen, that they would tolerate J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance would be more favorable to Elon, and if the Republicans have already moved away from him, that's a lot more skeptical. That is a lot that they would be willing to have Elon Musk's errand boy, Peter Thiel's errand boy, in the federal government as president. And so it makes it more likely that the whole regime, the whole self-proclaimed Trump administration would just get thrown in the garbage, and we would start from scratch with some Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson or somebody else could be made the Speaker, and then we could start from scratch, which is what is going to need to happen after a general strike. But in any case, this is a major fragmentation that's going on. And Steve, there was already tension between Trump and Elon, even at the beginning, with Elon's statements about the H-1B visas. I wish I was with you for that. I would have spoken about it. That was a major fissure point, and it was before the inauguration even happened. But this is a major fissure point, even more so, because now Steve Bannon, he always took Trump's side over Elon. He always took the side of conventional MAGA over tech MAGA. But now, at this point, Steve Bannon is having to go his whole new third way, because he has said in the past couple of days that, quote, we need to raise taxes on the rich. That's what he said. And the math doesn't work. So he's clearly taking Elon's side without taking Elon's side in this. And so every bit of this makes things more chaotic. It is so unlikely now that with all of this information that the BBB, the big budget bomb, will get passed by the end of by the end of July, by the end of the fiscal year. And that is good news. So, ICE acceleration. That was a major point of news that's been going on. And first of all, before I do that, I'll put some things out there. Trump did almost immediately after the breakup with Elon, did a travel ban. All of us, a lot of us have forgotten about it. I did not write this in my notes that I'm reading. I did not have this on my teleprompter. But Trump has completely forgotten, first of all, he did almost completely forget. I might be projecting a little bit. He seemed very forgetful in the speech that he was giving on the travel ban that we all forgot about. He is completely... He was almost... This happened almost immediately after the Elon and Trump split that took place. And he was just desperate to get the attention off of it. But that didn't work all that well. So this is what really happened. This is what he really did to get the attention of the world off of that. And it's a major moment. This is a moment that is similar in character, if not in scale, to the moment on April 14th when he refused to return Abrego Garcia after a ruling. And he has been returned, by the way. He has been returned. I don't know if I told you about that. There's a lot of stuff that I've missed out on with y'all. He's facing criminal charges, which are, again, it's a kangaroo trial, but it is going to be done with a regular jury, most likely, so he will probably win. This is performative that is being done by Trump and his regime. He may soon see freedom, and we will get the stories about what is happening to all of these people in El Salvador. And that will make for some great campaign ads on our side. Not that it's worth it, obviously. Fuck that. But pardon my French. Seriously, though, this is great news. But anyway, so ICE, the ICE acceleration. So yeah, this is a major moment, and just like that one, and I have already said that Trump was a dictator, a stupid one, a forgetful one, but that's what he was now. I've been saying that for a while, and it's true. That was the moment. He obeyed. Let me tell you something about that Abrego Garcia thing. It's beautiful and human and lovely and everything like that. But he is not. It does not mean that Trump is no longer a dictator. Because what he has shown is that he obeys or disobeys court orders at his own pleasure. No sanctions have been applied. Sanctions have not been applied to him yet. And some people believe that the possibility of sanctions is the reason why he did that. But I simply believe it was a public relations move. In any case, this is a major moment, this ICE thing, and I will have... A lot of you are just joining me now because this is what you want to hear about first, and that's fair. So, this is a major moment. This is a moment on the scale of what happened on April 17th. Of the character of it. This is an authoritarian breakthrough. But it's already showing that it's not the greatest idea. It's not working out the way he intended for it to. So, they accelerated their deportations, and this was how it started. Was a brand new quota from Stephen Miller, one of the dangerous people, really the only major one. He's probably the smartest person in that whole administration. Not particularly smart, self-proclaimed. Not particularly smart, but he's the smartest, and that makes him dangerous. So, what happened? They followed those quotas. They rampaged through dozens of workplaces, dozens of retail stores, all across LA, committed violence against migrants, stormed them away, all the things that we've seen from them before. No due process. They've just snatching people off the street, but they did it at a much higher rate than they have before. They arrested union members and community activists that were American citizens, obviously. They arrested those people just for their speech, for claiming, for saying things that are interpreted to be protecting the ICE members, the ICE victims, the people that are being snatched up, the immigrants. They're protecting them. Sorry for my mistake. So, there's mass protesting, day after day after day protesting, which is a lot of what we might see at the end of this regime as well. And so, me say something. It's not smart. This is not proactive. This is not the kind of authoritarian breakthrough that happens proactively because the dictator is ambitious and wants to expand his power for positive reasons, because he wants to for himself to secure wealth and power and permanence to his regime. This is not that. This is desperation. This is somebody that is seeing that he has provoked a community to the point, and this will happen a lot by next year. And this is why I think that a general strike is likely. Other than the fact that they just stuck their hand in a bee's nest of arresting the head of a union, which in and of itself makes a general strike way more likely, because they have experience with strikes. And so if anybody is going to be able to pull off a general strike, it's them. And we're going to need secure channels to talk about that kind of stuff in terms of logistics and stuff like that. But they know the logistics. So, but even beyond that, this kind of appetite for protest is new in America. We've had single-day protests before, but we have never had consistent day after day after day after day protesting, not even in one city. But they have escalated the harm that they've been causing. In one specific place, a preview of what is going to happen all over the country, perhaps. It has been so great that there is round-the-clock protesting going on now. And it's all utterly peaceful. But this is such an appetite to stop this, that this is the kind of thing that we saw in Kiev before the Yanukovych regime fell. This is what happened. And Yanukovych actually is very similar to Trump in many ways. He tried to steal an election, failed, won an election fair and square, and then what happened in the end was he pissed off the people so much by playing around with their desire to get into Europe, because he was a Russia puppet, that they just had no tolerance for him anymore. And they said enough is enough. And they took him out. They were willing to do whatever they needed to do. And they stood in that square next to him for 6 months. Every incident of retaliation just brought more people out into the streets. We might be at a stage where that could happen, frankly. We haven't seen for long enough yet, and the regime fell. That could so easily happen in America. And it would be easier, I think, here because of how small the public sector is relative to the private sector. A general strike could disrupt the government far more instantly and far more severely here than in a place like France, where there was one and it took several months before de Gaulle stepped down. And so this, final words on this, it's not proactive. There is such a thing as proactive authoritarian breakthrough, but this is not that. We could have seen it. We could have seen it back in January and early February, but we didn't. It wasn't fast enough. And what we're seeing now is that they are panicking. Park Rose Permaculture says this all the time. Angela from Park Rose Permaculture, that they are panicking and that they are trying to do it now because they know that the window of time is very rapidly running out. And that is why they are willing to send in the Marines and the National Guard illegally into this place. But they're doing dumb things, and things that are going to make a general strike more likely, and they are pissing off the people that know how to do it best. And so there's still a lot of work before we get there, but this is a major moment on our behalf. I think that as much as things are going wrong, the way that we've been able to keep this peaceful, and I've seen real rioting on TV, of course, not in real life, but I've seen rioting from 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's a controversial thing to say for people who think like me, but there was rioting going on. Places like New York, I believe Seattle had one, Portland, I'm not sure about, definitely DC. There was rioting all over the country, in fact, and Trump really never did anything about it. All he wanted to do was use it as a pretext to show what he can do with the military. He attacked the only people he ever attacked in Lafayette Square, for instance, were peaceful protesters. But there was rioting then, and I know what it looks like in New York City. There were boarded up windows every other block. There were tons of small businesses gone. This is not that. There have been a few instances of destruction of property. I'm not sure of what nature, because I've been bombarded with news, and I never got to the specifics of what property was destroyed, but it seemed like it was very limited. Nobody is, by and large, boarding up their windows out of fear. Frankly, the business owners are probably more afraid of ICE than they are of the protesters. This is making them look so foolish. The army is having face-to-face contact for the first time with people who oppose Trump. This is such an opportunity, and it is definitely not going the way that Trump wanted it to go. He just said a couple of days ago, before they even made it there, how amazing the job they did was, and that has underscored his dementia even more and made it even more obvious when somebody else said they're not even here yet. And yet he's praising them. He can't even take the time to wait in order to make his lies believable. So we're all going to die. That statement. I'm just going to get to some odds and ends. We're all going to die. That was Joni Ernst. If this isn't a landslide, there's no such thing as a landslide. You don't say that to American voters. FDR didn't tell that to us during World War II. And that was a war. That was something where there was radical acceptance, where people did have to die. This is in order for the greater good. This is just all to give Elon and people like him, although he's finally turning against it for his own reasons. This is just to give them a giant tax cut. So, and frankly, I want this bill to fail. I'm actually, what would scare me the most is something that I would like on the surface. I would love for the rich to get taxed, but it would also be very risky because it would raise the trust that the public has in these people, and that's not something we can afford right now. But that seems like something that is still very remote chance of happening, raising taxes on the rich. never, ever, ever forget how weak this guy is. And I have something I have a video of how he fell down the stairs in the same way on his own Air Force One, in the same way that Joe Biden did. And that was something that is at the end of his term, and that was something that the media was shouting from the hills about. And yet Trump does that specifically, falls down. And he's done tons of things that they would have treated Biden so much worse for. And Fox News doesn't say anything. Don't forget how demented he is. And all of this chaos and his inability to respond to it in public forcefully has just shown how weak he is. It really isn't working. And my own brain is not sucking that in as well as I should, but I have to tell that to you, and I believe it myself logically, and it just is not working. It's plainly obvious that this is not working for him, and that's good, because if he were to get his own way, his own dumb way were to take place, he would make a world in which nobody, including his own children, would be able to live. God bless you all. Good luck to you on June 14th, which will be a Saturday. I might have a video in the morning of that day for y'all. Maybe something to do with the protests, maybe not. God bless you all when you show up there, if you can. Some people can't afford to, for whatever reason. But God bless you all. And I hope that you all are able to be safe. I hope that you're able to keep these protests safe by exercising nonviolent discipline. It makes them look like such fools. It makes them look so weak. And we need that more than ever. God bless you all. Take care.